everybody. This is Bobby G, aka Bobby Bookworm, back again with another book review. I feel like I've kind of been off for a few days, and allergy season is still, as you can plainly see, getting on my nerves. But other than that, we're just going to keep it moving. We're just going to keep things going and keep things rolling, And the new book review that I have for today is one that is near and dear to my heart. I've actually read this book a few times. It is Tortured for Christ by the Reverend Richard Wurmbrand. In 2001, he went home to be with the Lord, and his wife followed shortly thereafter, if I remember correctly. And, it has on a tagline below on the corner, it says, the book that shocked the nation, because really he talked about how, unfortunately, there are a lot of realities with regards to the underground church that we don't know about. For those of you who don't know Richard Wurmbrand, that's his picture, by the way, when he was in prison. Did a total of 14 years. He did 8-year bid first, was out for 2 years, and then did another 6-year bid in communist prisons. And the thing that you have to understand about communist prisons is it's not like here in the U.S. Matter of fact, he even has a few quotes in here, if I can find it. But he really talks about the difference between what it's like being in the underground church and being, what's really going on in the free world. And, a couple of quotes that I do want to read. He says, "Sin must be called by its name." Mind you, he was in a communist prison during this time. He says, quote, "Communism is one of the most dangerous sins in the world today. Every gospel that does not denounce it is not the pure gospel. The underground church denounces it, risking liberty and life. The less have we to be silent in the West. I have decided to denounce communism, not in the sense in which those who are usually called anti-communists do it. Hitler was an anti-communist and was nonetheless a tyrant. We hate sin and love the sinner," which is, that's an old saying, hate the sin, love the sinner, which is a phrase that seems to be out of touch with most people, but yet he still uses it anyway. And he also talks about the underground church being very different from the free church. Free church meaning the free church in a free world, where we're not in the 1040 window and not under heavy persecution. He says, "The underground church is a poor and suffering church, but it has few lukewarm members. A religious service in the underground church is like one 1900 years ago in the early church. The preacher knows no elaborate theology. He knows no homiletic, as Peter did not know it. Even every professor of theology would have given Peter a poor grade for a sermon on the day of Pentecost." So, and he even goes far as to say, and this is a really telling statement right here of his book. He says, "Whoever has known the spiritual beauty of the underground church cannot be satisfied anymore with the emptiness of some Western churches." That's a pretty damning statement with regards to churches in the free world, if you ask me. And I mean, even further, he has one more that I do want to read, because I think this is very, very important, because we live in a country where we have so many denominations, we have so many different doctrines, and so many different beliefs. Some people are pre-trib, meaning Jesus comes back before the tribulation. Some people are mid-trib, meaning he comes back in the middle of the tribulation. Some are post-trib, like myself, who believe Jesus comes back after the tribulation. And not everybody has the same beliefs, and not everybody has the same denominations, especially in a country like this where you have so many. However, he does make a very important statement that I think, regardless of what denomination you're a part of, whether you're a Messianic like me, whether you're Catholic, Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, Episcopal, whatever the case may be, he says, and I quote, "To keep liberty for all denominations and all the theologies, and to regain it where it has been lost due to widespread religious persecution, is more important than to insist upon one certain theological opinion." I'm going to read that one more time. "To keep liberty for all denominations and all the theologies, and to regain it where it has been lost due to widespread religious persecution, is more important than to insist upon one certain theological opinion." Why does he say that? Well, if you read his book, you find that people who are Christians in persecuted countries, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's in some part of Southeast Asia, or what have you, the reality is that a lot of our persecuted brothers and sisters don't have a lot of luxuries that we do. They don't have a lot of luxuries to argue over whose theology is 100% crystal clear, or whose theology is the greatest. They don't have that luxury. All they know is Christ and Him crucified, much like Paul was. Is that I did not come to you preach you with smoothest of words, but I came to you in weakness and in fear and much trembling, and I preached only Christ and Him crucified, and that's it. Excuse me. But I think that this is a very important book in the times that we currently live in. I think it's very eye-opening. He also talks about his wife, Sabina, a bit, who did a 3-year bid herself in a communist labor camp, and how it had an effect on their son, Machai, who, for those of you who don't know, they're both Jewish. His wife lost her entire family in the Holocaust. He lost a good portion of his family in the Holocaust. And so, it was really the fact that they were ministers of the gospel that saved their necks, quite literally. But being communist prisons took a toll on them. It took a toll on their son, and it also takes a toll on the underground church, except it also purifies them, like fire purifies certain elements like gold and silver and so on. I don't want to give the whole book away, but I do recommend reading it, and I do think it's one that I think is worth looking into and reading. It's a book that I think is very timely, and I think it's a book that, although I've read it quite a few times, I think it's still more needed than ever for the days in which we live. This is Bobby G, aka Bobby Bookworm. This is my book review, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the not too distant future. Peace.